What you wish you would have told yourself earlier.
As I was growing up, I call it from 18 to 25, I prioritized just having fun and doing and spending a lot of money doing. Like I had a motorcycle I went to the racetrack with. At one point, I had like five different vehicles, and it was like, hey man, like get on track with what you need to do. And then I do a good job of balancing it now, fun versus like putting stuff away for retirement. But when you're young, start out early and save early and maybe budget more towards your retirement because it's only going to compound when you're young. So if I had started when I was 18 to 25 and gotten the largest amount back then, I'd be even a better spot. So that way, maybe now it's and like I said, I have a good time balancing it with fun, but maybe now I could prioritize more fun versus just socking away a ton of money.
This series, Road to Retirement, is designed to hear from people like you. You're going to hear from real people who want to retire early, and they're sharing what's worked well for them so far. How close are they? Some people you're going to listen to are a month out. Other people are 10 years out. So there's a wide range of people, and all of these different people are going to help you retire early from them kindly sharing their story. Now, if you haven't seen it already, I have another series here called Retirement Reality, where people who have already retired will share, here's what worked, here's what's actually been more difficult than I thought, and so much more. Today's episode is a road to retirement. So if you're on your way to retirement, this episode might resonate even more. Enjoy. My guest today is 34 years old. That's different from a lot of guests I've had on the show. I've had people in their 60s, 50s, 40s. I even had one guest who was turning 70 the week I spoke to him. That's what's cool about the show. Andy shares mistakes he made and how he wished that even though he could do things differently, he's glad it worked out the way he did. And fun fact, he wants to buy a plane. Now, here's my only ask. You're about to hear his story and kindly shares his investments and what he's really looking for and wants to make sure he's not missing anything. But he says how much the plane he wants to cost is. And I get as close as I think anyone could get when it comes to guessing the price. And we did not plan it ahead of the episode. So when I say, can I guess how much it costs for the plane you want to buy, please pause the episode and go comment what you think his plane is going to cost. I'm excited to see your answers. I promise we did not plan this ahead of time. You can ask him in the comments, and hope you enjoy this episode. Andy, thank you so much for joining an episode of Road to Retirement. It's fun for me to get to record these episodes because I get to ask all the burning questions in my head that I imagine you're thinking, and you get to validate them or go, you're completely nuts, you're missing it, here's what I'm actually worried about. It's not healthcare, it's what the heck am I going to do? Or it's not actually purpose, it's just financially, am I in a good spot? So we're excited. Please, everyone, go in the comments below. If there's questions that you're like, all right, you're missing the boat big time, you got to be asking these, I will take that under consideration. I'm not going to guarantee it. If it's what's your favorite soccer team? You guys know I do those separate episodes. But jokes aside, I'm excited to have you here, Andy. And I ask all my guests the same question first, which is, what are you most excited to spend your time doing once you're retired?
Man, all right. Well, I mean, really, I think the most important thing is spending time with people you care about and your family. So, it's actually a really poignant question because I just got out of the military probably about 6 months ago. And I spent a lot of time away from family and away from people I care about. So, having control of my time and being able to choose who and when I spend my time with, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
Love that. Love that. Thank you, first of all, for your service. Truly, if you didn't do what you did, I couldn't do what I do. So truly, thank you. Now, one of the things that comes up often is, okay, what am I going to actually do in retirement? Then there's the financially, am I in a position to actually make it there? Before we get into that stuff, which of course is fun to talk about, fun for me as a weird retirement advisor, I want to know, do you have like a retirement date where you're like, I want to be done by X date? Is it more financially when I can make it happen? How are you viewing that timing?
Yeah, so I kind of look at it. I have a big spreadsheet that I do all my planning in. I've done planning in that spreadsheet. It's not anything like super technical. It's just an Excel spreadsheet that I've been doing since I was like 15 or 16 years old. So it's the same thing and it's evolved for a long time. And I did some really in-depth planning of, hey, what are the things I like to do and what is it going to cost to do those things? Like, here's like my middle of the road. Here's like, I don't care. Or I'll have as much money as possible and I'll be able to do everything I'd ever want to do. So with that, I don't have a specific date, but there's times when I can get off the working train, if that makes sense. So
It
is it
does.
like at 45? Is it at 55? Is it at 65? And then there's different, I guess, ways to spend the money that I would have when I get to those points. So it's just a choice, and I'll have options, and I'll evaluate when I get there, if that makes sense.
Love it. How old are you today?
I'm 34.
34. Awesome. So a lot of you guys who are watching this are going, wow, Andy's already a step ahead. He's already thinking about this. He's had the Excel spreadsheet since he's 15. The Excel spreadsheet is titled, Once I Retire, I Can Finally Do. No, it doesn't let you put that many characters in. But I would love to explore. I want to pretend for a moment you are retired and you get to do
Sure.
your dream. Okay. We're going to talk about financially what's possible and all that reality stuff in a second. But do you mind sharing what are some of those things on your, not just meeting your needs, but your wants? Is it travel? Is it toys? What does it look like?
Yeah, so it's actually a combination of all that stuff. So I spent a lot of time in the military. I was a pilot, so I really like flying, and it's like, all right, I want to have an airplane that I get to fly around. My dad's actually, I think, well, he retires here in I think coming up in June, and he's one of his dreams was getting a catamaran to sail around the world, or at least around Europe and Italy. That's where I'm from. So it's like, oh, it'd be awesome to have something like that, more so for the experiences than just like, the boat itself. What else? I spent some time when I was in the military in Alaska, so it'd be cool to have a place up in Alaska. I enjoy like outdoors and hunting and all that kind of stuff. And then besides that, it's like, hey, I want to do this stuff with my family. So what does that look like, and how do I ensure that if I raise my kids right, so they're not just living off of me, not spoiled, but they have their own adventures, but can also spend time with me. So those are the things I'm thinking about as I go through that, if that makes sense.
It does. Great framework. Let's pretend you're retired and I'm giving you a blank check. I'm like, here's how much. Now, this doesn't include buying new cars or a one-off trip, which we'll talk about, but like generally just to live and exist comfortably. Is that 8,000 a month in your head? Is it 6? Is it 20? How are you viewing that?
Yeah, I think I did the math, and I'd have to look at the spreadsheet, but I think it's somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000 a month for just to live comfortably with my expenses covered, if that makes sense.
Perfect. So let's call it 10 a month, adjusted for inflation after taxes. If you had 120,000 a year, that's not first class tickets or anything like that. I am curious though, because you mentioned the plane. How much would it be? In fact, I'm going to guess for your dream. I'm talking dream plane. Okay. First of all,
Yeah.
is this a private plane?
Yeah, I'd own it and I'd fly it, or maybe I'd figure out like, hey, how do I make this a business venture or something like that. But
Yeah.
honestly, I did, hey, what's it gonna cost me just to have it outright and do whatever I want with it? So
Okay. Well, you guys can start laughing at me in the comments because I'm about to guess. And normally I'm pretty good with this stuff. Okay.
okay,
I really don't know. A private plane, I'm going to say, and you might laugh at 750,000.
yeah, that's actually okay. So it depends on the plane, but that's exactly right about what I was thinking. So
Guys, I promise. Andy, did we prep that? We didn't prep that.
no,
Okay.
yeah,
So, guys, I'm telling you, if you need the planes, you know where to go. Okay. Now, jokes aside, I'm curious because you have a good head on your shoulders. I can already tell financially, the way you're speaking, you're very articulate. Some people start saving for retirement when they get their first job and they're like 401k and TSP. That's like what I was born to do. And they get the poster over their bedroom. It says TSP for life. And they get the license plate that says max out everything. And there's other people that go, look, I know I should save, but I'm just naturally a spender. How did you first educate yourself about finances? It sounds like maybe your dad. Was there a coworker, a mentor?
See, I think it was more my mom. She was the one who talked to me about saving money, and when you're young, like you have no ability to, I guess, delayed gratification. So, it was definitely a yin and yang or a struggle to do that in the beginning, but I did a good job of saving money, starting out when I first got my job when I got into the military at 20 or 21 or 22. So I can't remember if I was maxing the TSP or just putting something into it. And then I think quickly thereafter, probably 24 or 25, I started maxing the TSP. And for me, I always did Roth. So I did whatever the maximum allowable amount was. So I did the Roth from the beginning. As I got out of the military, I had to, just for like a year, I had to stop contributing because I had some other things that I was trying to achieve before I got out. But now that I'm out of the military, I'm again maxing the Roth and then just putting a bunch of money into a brokerage account. I also have real estate, so I've got a house that I rent out in San Diego. So just building the different income streams is kind of what I'm looking at right now.
Love that. Okay, we're going to have to talk about real estate for just a moment because I have a story I like to tell here. But first, before I go there, was the military always, was that the plan? And what's it been like since being out of the military to kind of explore another career?
Yeah, so the military, I don't think it was always the plan. When I was about 16 or 17, all my friends started joining the Marines. So I initially wanted to join with them. This is a dumb story, but I was 17, young and doing just having the best time of my life, and I
Yeah.
bought a motorcycle kind of against my mom's wishes. Um, and then
Sorry, Mom.
I promptly crashed my motorcycle like 2 days later. Not too much bad things happened, but I got a lot of road rash, and I was trying to go into military when I was 17. My mom was going to sign those papers to let me go in before I turned 18, but then she's like, "Nah, I'm not signing that. You're too dumb. You're not making good decisions." But that was a good thing, kind of a blessing in disguise, because with that, she really wanted me to go to college and get a degree. So I was able to actually get an ROTC scholarship, so they paid for my college.
Amazing.
And from there, I still joined the military, but I went in as an officer and became a pilot. So, if that makes
Incredible.
sense, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Now, did you mention you have a family?
No, it's just me right now, so I'm just planning for me.
Just
But I've got that in the plan. Like, hey, what is it going to look like if I get a family or
yeah.
when I get a family?
Okay. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because this is something that I see way too many people just kind of assume. For example, they'll say, I'm going to spend 10 a month. But they're assuming it's 10 every single month until they pass away. It's like, no, right now we can supercharge retirement planning. It's just you. And like, every spouse is different, but generally I'm only 3 months married, so not a veteran. But
Congratulations.
um, thank you. But there's generally someone who wants to spend more, someone who is naturally more of a saver, and it creates a nice balance. But I remember when I was early on in my career going, I got to max out my 401k. I don't have other priorities. Why would I not do this? And it can set you in a pretty good spot. And the
Yeah.
reason I bring this up for you is if you have something like a rental property, well, there's naturally things that come along with certain investments that I always want people to be aware of. And my favorite example here is what I call ROH. And ROH stands for return on hassle. Most people think of ROI, return on
Yeah.
investment. And so let's pretend you're retired and you've got a rental property and your tenants are giving you some trouble and the roof leaks and you call the property manager and they're not there. Well, it's just kind of annoying because you're trying to travel and enjoy life. But it might bring in a great return. So if we had, for example, the stock market over here doing 10% a year or real estate doing 15%, so certain people will pick 10% over 15% because it's just, hey, I don't have to actually do anything. I don't have to attend meetings, or if the roof leaks, I just have to be a disciplined investor. There's other people that go, yeah, I'm not traveling so much that I can't also manage the property, and I have a great manager and the tenants are easy and like it brings in a great return and it diversifies my assets, which just brings more comfort. So there's never a right or wrong, but it's an analysis that most people don't even consider. Did you go into getting your rental property going, oh my gosh, the cap rates I was looking into and it's the specific property? Who taught you about that? Like, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, yeah. So when I was when I first started the military, it was like, hey, how do I diversify, and those are kind of things. So, but looking back, I wish I had bought a property at every place I stayed, but I didn't. Really,
Wow.
the only place I bought a property in was in San Diego. And then when I was in San Diego, I ended up I moved to Japan right now, so I'm working in Japan. So, but I've been
Wow.
renting the place out for I want to say about 3 years. So it wasn't necessarily just like oh, I'm moving, so I have to rent it out. There was some planning to it, but I would say it's more haphazard or more circumstance than specifically buying it as a rental property, if that makes sense.
Has it been a hassle in your experience? Has it been pretty simple?
So I'm really lucky. I got really great tenants, so it's actually been very simple. I know it can be a hassle, and that's kind of where it's like this is a risk that maybe later on down the road, or if I'm trying to get this whole thing paid off over the next 25 years of the remaining part of the loan, like I'm expecting some of that. So I have to put some money aside and plans for some time and kind of run out some scenarios in my head and how would it work out if I needed to do something specific, like if an air conditioner broke or I had a bad tenant or something like that.
Awesome. Well, you've got a good head on your shoulders once again. Now, you said you wish you bought something in every place you went.
Yeah.
Now, I wish I was 6'9". Okay, I'm 5'5", so there's
Yeah.
only so many wishes we can
Okay.
have. But in all seriousness, when you were going to these different places, If you had the finances, would you have absolutely done it? Was it finances holding you back from being able to buy
No, I don't
property?
think. Or I'm sorry. Go ahead. Did you finish your question?
No, no, no. Sorry.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that was it.
I don't think it was finances holding me back. It was more so just like an understanding of how to buy a house. I was,
Yeah.
22, 23, 24, 25 years old. And I had opportunities where it's really nice as a military member because you get the VA home loan, which makes it super favorable, super easy to buy a house. But I just like wasn't ready to jump in. I'd never done it before. And then eventually like I saved enough money where I felt comfortable with a good sizable down payment. I put a down payment, I purchased furniture for the house, and then that was great because then I got to live there for a couple of years, and then my situation changed, and then I was like, all right, I guess we'll transition to renting it out. So looking back, it wasn't a financial thing. It was more so like an experience understanding. Maybe I didn't have the right mentor to be able to like, hey, can you show me how to do this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Great insight. And real estate can be an incredible tool. Some people think I'm anti real estate or super pro real estate. I'm pro whatever makes most sense. And there are situations where someone will tell me, Ari, I should really get rid of this property. I know. I go, no, it's not really bothering you. The return's better than the stock market and it's actually more consistent. So based off of your plan, this makes tons of sense. There's other people that go, Ari, I'm getting cash flow every month. I go, you've had 6 things break in the last 9 months and you think you're coming out on top, but you're losing money. So it actually is about the property and identifying the right one, just like it sounds like you did. In San Diego, nice spot to have. So
Yeah,
kudos to you. Let's switch gears a little bit. I'm very curious now, your new career, what you're now spending time doing, is it the same as you did? And what was that transition like from being in the military to now not?
Yeah, so my new career in generalities, basically I teach people how to fly military airplanes, and I do that around the world. So it's really nice. It pays really well. And I get to do basically what I did my whole military career, just in a different setting. So I don't get to fly the airplanes anymore, but we get to use the simulators, which is really cool. So that was really nice. And then to your question about what it was like getting out of the military, it was actually somewhat of a not a scary transition, but just like it was uncomfortable because I'd had job security for like 10, 11 years. And it's like, oh man, I got to get out and find a job. This is hard. So when I was getting out, I was trying to go fly for the airlines. But as I was getting out, and it's all a timing thing. That's like what I've learned about life. A lot of it's obviously you got to set yourself up for success, but everything's about timing. So when I got out, hiring basically slowed down a lot. So it was like, okay, if I'm going to get out, I'm not willing to have a gap in employment just to try to do this thing. So I looked at other means and had a plan A, plan B, plan C, all the way down. So basically, I went with plan B. It actually ends up being it pays a little better initially, which I think is great. And then there's always the option to continue and try to go for the airlines and kind of split these 2 jobs or find other things as well. So that was going to be one of my questions is like, how do I evaluate
Yeah.
which job I want to have or trying to split this in the timing of that? I don't know if I'll necessarily have a choice always in the timing, but if I had an option, like when's the best time to do that transition to doing both or keeping one or the other? So yeah, yeah.
You're absolutely right. Timing is everything. I have a story that I like to tell, and I know I've told it a gazillion times, but I'm telling it again because it really changed this one client's life. And if they know who they are listening, thank you for living this life because now I get to tell this story. So they were debating, do I take this job? They weren't in the military, but they were in a very high stress career, making about 400,000 a year. So they're like, I'm crushing it. I can't leave. I mean, it's just such good income. And they said, I'd really love to do this other role, but it only paid about 125,000 a year. So they were thinking, I really should take it for my emotional sense and all that. But they went, look, I know I should, but I just can't do it. Like 400,000 is just so much. So guess what they did? They kept working and their health got worse and got worse. And they eventually said, you know what? I'm going to do this other role. And when they wanted to do it at that time, that was not available. So then they worked a few more years and the stress increased. And now they're like, okay, great. I've saved a ton of money. I'm doing something else. And when they wanted to do that other thing, their health didn't really allow them to do it. They wanted to be, I think it was like a hiking guide at some fancy spot. So they were now like, okay, this isn't really an option for me anymore, but what else can I do? And they fortunately found something else that they enjoyed doing. I won't say what it is, but what they did was bringing in way less money. I'm talking like 40,000 a year instead of $400,000 a year. And because they supercharged their retirement so well at the beginning, if they just kept making 400,000 a year, which at this point they were in their 40s, so like they could easily have done that for 20 more years, they would have died with so much money. I mean, they're nowhere close to dying now, but they would have so many millions that I can assure you they would feel regret. So I talked to them and I talked to their friends now about this rule of 72, which is a concept that I really like to discuss. Have you heard of this rule?
I think so. If it's a specific one we're
Okay.
talking about, I'll hear what you
So
say.
yeah, so basically what it is it tells you how long it takes to double your money.
Yeah.
So if you take 10 divided by 72, that's 7 years, and your money historically will double. So what this allows you to do is, let's pretend you're 34. Just going to use your math for a second. Obviously, I don't know how much you have saved, but pretend you found a job that paid less, but you enjoyed it more. Traditionally, people would go, well, that's a hard decision to pass off. And you might go, I don't have a family today. I can do it anyways. But if you didn't have to do it and you would still be okay, it's worth considering. And you've already got this rental property. It sounds like you've already saved a good amount. You've been doing Roth every year but one. So in this case, let's just take a hypothetical and say you've saved 500,000 to a 401k and let's say 200,000 to a superhero account, which is my favorite account. That's a brokerage account. Your 500,000, if that doubled, you're 34, 41, it's now a million. A million is now 2 million when you're 41. 41, there's 2 million. You can't really tap into it. So it just feels good to have it, but you're going to pay crazy penalties. So the reason I tell this story is you can be on track for life and all these fun things, but it doesn't mean you should retire. It means you should consider what job is going to give you the most enjoyment, because at this point, you've already saved and invested well. However, pretend you had nothing and you're like, I'm just starting out. Okay, well, it might make sense to take that higher paying career because you've got to get the bulk of those savings at the beginning. So this is why I love this stuff, because I saw someone took a job that unfortunately put them in a tough health spot when they would have been more than fine if they had taken the role at the beginning, which then wasn't even an option later. So certain jobs allow for flexibility like that. Certain jobs don't. But it's tough to make that call and take the job that pays less, even if you know you'll enjoy it more, if you're not really understanding your financial picture. So that's something that I urge people to consider, which is having that superhero account. Have you heard me talk about that at all?
Yeah, I've watched a lot of your episodes, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Because I can only contribute a relatively fixed amount to my Roth IRA. The rest is basically going into a brokerage account, and then I'm saving just some cash for for emergencies and all those kind of things. So, what was I going to say? Your numbers were very close to where I'm at, so that's very accurate. And then I had a question, but I can't remember it. But yeah, the superhero account. Oh yeah, here's my question. The superhero account. So at a certain point, it's like, I can only put so much into my retirement, which eventually I can only withdraw either at like 55 or 59 and a half or whatever. You can't do the early withdrawals. So then it's like, okay, do I just put all this into a brokerage account? Do I look for good opportunities? Because since I'd say, quote unquote, I'm at the beginning of my career, I'm early on in my retirement journey. It seems like, watching, people can get obsessed about it. They focus on it too much. They look at it every day. It's like, all right, I got 30 years plus to have this work. And I don't want to get off the rails on some random either tangent or something that's going to negate the gains I could make or the gains I can plan for something that I think is going to do much better in the short term, but probably not. It's not necessarily guaranteed. And none of this stuff is guaranteed, but it's like, the get rich quick scheme. How do I just stick to the good stuff that's going to work? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. You're articulating it so well. And I'm going to give you my thoughts, but I believe all of you who watch my content have incredible thoughts as well. So what would you tell Andy before I give you my answers? Guys, you can let him know. And you can let him know that if those numbers are close, here's the reality. What do you want to do? You want to optimize kind of everything you've worked so hard for? Who doesn't? And how do we weigh that with flexibility? Because what you could do is you could absolutely go get another job where maybe you're working for an airline and your hours are stressful. You can't really get a family maybe, or you can, but it's more difficult. You max out a 401k. You're only adding to a bigger tax burden as I see it. If most of your money is already in, even if it's Roth dollars, I'm like, awesome. You can always touch the principal, but it doesn't mean you should, because it's the best account for tax-free growth. Now, I put out a fun episode, at least I thought it was fun, a little bit ago, and it showed that so many people don't even pull from their Roth, meaning it's their best account, but they're like, I should let it grow. So then they don't even end up using it, which is like, well, then what's the point? So don't pull from it unnecessarily. But if I'm you, I'm thinking about it in the sense of, okay, what do I want to prioritize? If it's flexibility, so I can spend more time with family or be able to buy a plane or whatever it is, the risk is if you put, let's just pretend you took all brokerage money and you said, you know what, I'm going to put any additional dollars I make into a rental property. You could accumulate multiple rental properties and you could bring in tons of income. The argument is, do you need income? And what I'd focus on is total return. What's bringing us the most money? And if that could be a property that appreciates and throws off income, it's like winner, winner. And if it doesn't take a lot of time and you like doing it and you're good at it, I'm like, let's spend time doing that. For example, myself, I could own rental properties, but my biggest return on investment is me running my business. And I love getting to do it. I have friends that are so savvy with rental properties and they kind of like it. They could kind of fix stuff up. So I'm like, great, you should do that. So what I would consider is this superhero account lets you do whatever you want. So what you do have to kind of pay the cost in is dividends and interest along the way. But to me, that's a small price to pay for flexibility. So let's pretend you put, the most to your Roth IRA, assuming you're doing the back door or whatever you need to do for earnings purposes. And then the rest is going to a superhero account. And let's pretend there's $700,000 in there in, I don't know, let's say 5 or 6 years. And that otherwise could have gone to a qualified account. I'm like, Andy, your qualified account, your 401k or TSP, should I say, your Roth IRA, not saying you're kind of good, but like, look, that 500 becomes a million, becomes 2, becomes 4. Like, I'm not saying don't save another dollar there, but kind of close to that. Like, you're just going to add to more money you can't touch. And you're going to be, 55, 59 and a half when you really start pulling from it. Ideally, potentially even longer. The superhero account, the reason I love it is it can act like a Roth IRA because of something called tax gain harvesting. Have you heard of that before?
I have, but I haven't delved deep enough into details to understand exactly how I would actually execute it as I get further into
it would be weird, by the way, if you did, because you'd be so far ahead where it creates that analysis paralysis, to be honest. But the short answer is you want to make sure you don't lock yourself into something where if it turns out you don't love your job or you want to have a family and take time off or switch, that you can't because you have a property that you can't sell. Like, that's just a hassle. So having extra in a superhero account, I've never had someone be upset at that. The reason I am personally prioritizing my superhero account is I don't know what life's going to bring. And I want to have the flexibility to just do whatever the heck I want to do. And this account allows you to essentially act like a Roth IRA if you use it well. So what I mean by that is, let's pretend, Andy, you said in 5 years, I'm going to have a family. I want to be able to travel, whatever it is. Maybe you don't if the kids are young and screaming in first class, but maybe you're not a first class guy. But regardless, the point here is in 5 years, you choose to sell the San Diego property. Maybe there's still a mortgage, but you come out on top and you've got $300,000-400,000 and you've been saving in your superhero. So now you have $1 million there. That's $1 million that you could choose to do whatever you want with. And theoretically, your income is zero, assuming no pension and your spouse or partner is not working. You can generate up to $126,000 a year today and pay 0% in taxes, which means you put money into the superhero account, it grew, and you can take winnings off and pay no taxes. You could theoretically do that for 10 years. You could live off of that from 40 to 50 if you wanted to, and it's still going to grow along the way. So this is something most people don't even know is an option. Now, pretend your rental income is still, you enjoy the property, and it threw off $50,000 a year of income, hypothetically. Well, with rental income, you can be smarter than what I just shared there. But $50,000 is coming in, and you can realize up to $126,000 tax-free. That means there's $76,000 that you would be able to pay 0% taxes on. So what you can do is ask yourself, what's going to put me in the best spot? And the risk is if you were to put too much into a TSP or 401k today, you add to a future tax burden. If you put too much into rental properties, the risk is one goes belly up or insurance or whatever you have it. You can't sell one and the timing isn't right. And now you're having to work a job you don't necessarily need. So I'm almost thinking if the goal is to buy a plane one day, or if the goal is to start to experiment what you actually love doing with your family, the superhero account is the best option to start doing those things. So that's how I would look at it from a kind of defensive, flexible perspective, but you could try to optimize to the nth degree and convert perfectly at the right age. But I find that's what happens to people. What happens to those people, excuse me, is what you mentioned earlier, where it's you're looking at your account every day. And I'll be honest, some of my best clients, they forgot their passwords. Like they do not log in. They're like, it's actually better for me. It's on autopilot. So what I would encourage you to do is have a certain amount of money in what's called sleep number money. It's not even a math equation. It's like, what amount do you sleep well at night having? Let's pretend it's 30,000 all the time. Great. That's that. Anything beyond that, I personally do this, goes to my superhero account. And then I can start to go, okay, did I spend enough on what I wanted this year? Not just like, okay, bills and groceries, but like how much of what I brought in did I spend on me for like fun? Because I deserve that. Beyond that, I'm going, okay, I lived comfortably today. How much do I want to potentially save for my future versus enjoy today more? And I get to make that decision. So I would urge you to understand you're in a great spot. Adding more money to a qualified account might feel good. It might even feel weird. Maxing out a Roth IRA and doing those on paper financial decisions, there's nothing wrong with that. You'd still be ahead of 99% of people. But considering this superhero account and the tax benefits from this is something I would not overlook.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I'm a visual slash particular, so we'd have to for me, I'd have to sit down and understand all like, hey, how's this going to play out over the next 10, 20, 30 years and see what it looks like. So,
I'm a visual learner as well. And many of you guys who are in my academy, you know the reason I love that software tool is to be able to show and use that in that exact way Andy shared. So if you're not enrolled in that already, I'd recommend checking that out in the description below. Andy, the way I like to end these episodes is by actually shutting the heck up myself and letting you actually explain with your experience, even if you're not retired yet, what you wish you would have told yourself earlier. Because there's other people in a similar stage of life to you who are going, wow, I want to be like Andy one day where I have these options or rental properties or whatever it may be. So you can tell younger you anything. It could be, hey, I'm glad you got that motorcycle because that led you to where you are. It can be, you know what? I wish I prioritized a little bit more spending time because I've saved well now, but I missed out or whatever that may be. So with that being said, I'll shut the heck up myself and give you the floor.
yeah, no, that's great. When I was, as I was growing up, I call it from 18 to 25, I prioritized just having fun and spending a lot of money doing, like I had a motorcycle I went to the racetrack with. At one point I had like 5 different vehicles and it was like, hey man, like get on track with what you need to do. And then I do a good job of balancing it now, fun versus like putting stuff away for retirement. But when you're young, start out early and save early and maybe budget more towards your retirement because it's only going to compound when you're young. So if I had started when I was 18 to 25 and gotten the largest amount back then, I'd be even a better spot. So that way, maybe now is, and like I said, I have a good time balancing it with fun, but maybe now I could prioritize more fun versus just socking away a ton of money. In my 30s and 40s, I'd probably do it again anyway, just like that. But in the sense of I'd probably still be putting away a ton of money now, but yeah, I'd be in a better spot. So maybe just maximizing when I'm younger.
Love it. Andy, you're going to have a great retirement, whatever that looks like. Whether it's a partial retirement, if it's working, doing something you just really love. But the fact that you saved what you have saved, served our country, and did everything, like you are an awesome guy. So appreciate you sharing that today.
Awesome talking to you. Thanks so much.